But like, I let that get into my brain for a while because, you know, it was pre-Instagram, TikTok. Like, I started video training people 7 years ago. So this was very early on. And he just couldn't see it. And then that planted a seed of doubt in my mind too. And I was like, now I know there are some people that you should listen to, but like, I don't know. I think you have to trust your gut. I think you have to go with your vision. And then whatever happens, then you learn from your own mistakes and get better at that.
Hey, I'm Jay Woodard. I am a creative director, photographer and videographer of the Ed32 agency based in the south of Ireland in Cork.
Hi, I'm Judy Russell. I'm a video coach and founder of the Vid Academy.
Hi, I'm Jen Bryan and I'm the co-founder and chief marketing officer of a digital marketing agency called Velocity Growth.
Hi, I'm Sian Horn. I'm a business mentor and coach. I'm also the founder of the national network for women in business called The Club. And I also am the ambassador for Champion Green.
Believe it or not, we are in the last week of December, and this is episode 6, is it? If I'm not mistaken, am I? That's correct.
Yep.
Time has flown. Time has absolutely flown. Welcome to another episode. Thank you so much for everyone who's listened so far and reviewed us and just given us love and feedback. We love the feedback. We love the criticism. We've kind of pivoted our episodes on criticism recently, and it got us to number 2 in the charts again. So thank you again for listening. We really, really, really appreciate it. Welcome, ladies. Hope all is good on your side and business isn't going absolutely mental. Is it all good? We're flying, like Jen, busy, Shan, crazy. What's going on? Judy, you're on a cruise. You can't talk.
Yeah.
Muted.
And I'm winding down. I'm just woken up from a kip.
Nice. I wish I could do that. I was in the studio till 11 o'clock last night, just editing, just getting everything done so I can just switch off. We're getting there. We're getting there. But this episode, last week we talked about money, and I think a lot of people loved it, and a lot of people kind of got a lot of information and a lot of value out of it. So this week we're kind of focusing on something I know Shan's going to love, is roadblocks to entrepreneurship. We're all entrepreneurs. We all have our own businesses. And there are several roadblocks in the way, but there's also a lot of roadblocks that people, I feel, make up. And we'll dive into all that kind of stuff in the conversation. But Jen, let's give a highlight from you, be it negative or positive, a highlight of any kind of major roadblocks you found in your road to entrepreneurship.
I think there's probably a lot more roadblocks that I ignored than anything else. I mean, certainly when I was getting started, there was like the roadblock of, can you do it? Can you do it better? Does it need to be perfect? Like the imposter syndrome was probably the biggest one for me, but I just squashed the little voice as opposed to overcoming it. Like it definitely creeps back in all of the time. So I think actually getting over that hump and actually just diving in was probably the biggest hurdle, and everything since then has been more like every time something really bad happens in the business that I overcome, I feel like there's more and more I can overcome, which is beneficial. But the imposter syndrome was real, especially early on.
Yeah. Shan?
Yeah, I don't think that ever goes, to be honest. It's quite funny just talking about this all this morning, and I think it's kind of always with you. I think the biggest thing I learned was to possibly not do it with third parties. I'm really quite strong at just doing stuff and not worrying about it. I don't really worry about the consequence too much. I'm always like, what's the worst that can happen? Well, if that doesn't happen, what's the best that can happen? But sometimes when you have to rely on others, that can be a real roadblock. And that's certainly when I first went into business, that was something that I came across within my first few years and made the decision then that was never going to happen again.
Fair enough. And you have a strict rule. You don't work with family or friends, do you, in this kind of stuff?
I don't like to work with family and friends. I grew up in a family business and made the choice early on not to work with my family. And I used to see them argue about it and stuff. And then I don't take advice from family very rarely. I still, we still have conversations, but they love me, so they'll always tell me nice stuff, and I need the real honest, no smoke opinions. So there's a few people that I would go to for that.
Nice. Judy?
I'm gonna like talk about the highlight, I think, of being an entrepreneur, because I think that it's exactly like this. It's managing your own time. And, you know, people often say like, oh, you're so lucky you don't have a boss. And like over the course of a week, I might have 4 bosses, you know, that kind of way. Like, it's like you just have loads of bosses instead of just one. Like, but what it does mean is that I can go on a holiday with my mum over Christmas and not have to ask someone for permission. But what it means even more than that is, like, when I was working in a corporate environment, when I had an idea for something, I bring it to the manager. But I find that if people don't come up with ideas themselves, they find it very hard to get on board an idea. So if you have your own business, there's no approval check needed. And even if it is a shit idea, you can go off and you know, test it, make that mistake, come back and redo it. Or else you can just, you know, hopefully it will work out. And sometimes it does, which is amazing. And then when it does, like, you know, it's all what goes in comes back out, as opposed to this whole thing of having to be at a desk for 40 hours a week. Like, nobody needs to be at a desk for 40 hours a week. Like, you know, like sometimes they can do their week in 20 hours. Sometimes they're going to need 60. But this whole thing of kind of like having to be there, you know, in corporate environments, I suppose there's no other way to measure it. It's hard to, but like, it's just, there's so much more freedom, I think, in being your own boss. And that is my favorite thing about it.
I would completely disagree. I think I would agree if you're a solopreneur and you're working just for yourself. But like, you know, being an entrepreneur isn't always about working just by yourself. And the minute you have staff, you have X amount of bosses. The minute you want to go on holiday, if they want to go on holiday, I can tell you now they're going before you go. You actually become right at the bottom of the pecking order. So as a solopreneur, I completely agree to have that flexibility. However, the guilt doesn't disappear. Guilt is a real thing you've got to work with when you're an entrepreneur and you're taking time off. I'm so over that. But when you have staff 100%, you no longer work for yourself. You work for them, their mortgages, their families, because, you know, you're responsible for them. And that's a lot to take on.
Definitely. And I think, like, you know, it's been a very on purpose being a solopreneur. Like, you know, I haven't like ever wanted a team or staff or anything like that. Like it's like a kind of lifestyle business. It really suits my lifestyle. If I was to grow and expand, I know I'd lose all of those kind of privileges that I have. But then, you know, it comes with its negatives as well.
Yeah. I don't have those privileges for sure.
Yeah.
Because you have a team. So you've responsibilities and it's tough. You know, I think people forget that once you start to expand, I'm always having this conversation with solopreneurs that want to expand. I'm like, well, how do you want to do it? You know, do you want to take on other solopreneurs and work together? Do you want to take, well, it's better if, and there's a double-edged sword to both of that, because one of my businesses, everybody's works themselves and they've all got their own businesses within my business and it works really well. We all promote each other. It's a real collaborative and I absolutely love it. But if you take on people sometimes, you know, you can't ask people to do something or contract them to do something if they don't work for you. And even sometimes in this world, even when they do work for you, doesn't mean that much anyway, to be absolutely honest. You know, the psyche of the working environment has changed so much over the last 20 years. A lot 100% for the good and a lot 100% not so good. But that's life, isn't it?
For sure.
In one of my businesses, we had 18 staff under 23. And it was challenging. It was a learning curve for me.
Yeah, but why do we think it's like? Because I'm sure there's people, there might be people under the age of 23 listening to this, wondering why that is challenging for us. And I mean,
well, I'm happy to break down.
Here.
Yeah, but this was the winter after the pandemic happened.
Yeah.
So a lot of these 23-year-olds had never, or people under, we actually had a 17-year-old working as well, 17 to 23, the ages were. And I would say 80% of them had never had a job before. Some pandemic, some just like when I was a kid, and Shannon, and girls, I don't know about you, but I know me and Shannon, like I started working when I was 12. I was serving pints at 12. Like, it's just, that's the world we were in. Like, you're all the same. Where I think this kind of new generation, they haven't had that work experience. They haven't had that social experience and the people experience. And it was like, I genuinely had to show a few of them how to sweep the floor. Like, it was that kind of scenario, or mop. And it's just, and that's fine. I don't blame them. It's not their fault. Like, their parents, like when I was a kid, my parents, like, yeah, you're going caddying for the summer, go down to the golf club, meet these people, learn, I'll pick you up at 5. You know, it's just, I guess it was a different, was it a different world back then? I don't know, but like, I don't know.
It's really weird because I'm the eldest of 5 and I started working at 13. My next sister started working at maybe 15. My next sister started working at maybe 17. And the boys, one of my brothers left school before the leaving cert on the promise of, yeah, you can leave, but only if you're going to work full time. So he was probably around the 16 mark as well and did go off and work full time and loves it. And it was a fantastic decision for him. And my other brother then was a little bit older again, maybe 19, 20. But it's interesting because we just staggered through that flow. Like I remember the day I was standing behind my mother and we were down in the shop. And she was like, can she start? And he was like, no, like legally, she can't start until she's 14. So I worked with my mum that summer before it. And then a week before my 14th birthday, back down again. She's 14 next week, in behind the counter the next week.
Absolutely.
And look, it probably did the world a good, like, do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Looking back on it.
All of us probably came out of university or that kind of 20-ish age, with 10 years experience behind us in just any job.
Yeah. I'll touch on the highlight. One of the highlights of my roadblocks was when I was one of the proper first businesses I had. It was the second or third business. I think it was the donut shop, Huckleberries. I didn't have money to open up. I didn't have thousands to start a bakery. I didn't have any of that kind of stuff. And people were like, well, you have to build a bakery that's HACCP safe and bakers and costs and all this kind of stuff. I was like, Jesus, well, clearly if I don't take a 60 or 70 grand loan out, I'm not opening this place. And then I was like, I found an old PC shop that had closed down and had the perfect amount of rooms. I was like, I could build a bakery there. And I was like, but I still can't afford the bakery. So like, how am I going to do it? And people are like, no, you can't do it. You have to build a bakery. You have to have your own donut. And then I genuinely just thought, like, all I need is a really good donut in my hand, nude, fake, like plain. My team can do the rest. And then I thought, well, I'll just outsource the donut. And then I'll just get them delivered every morning and my team can design and fill them. And that cuts out a 50 grand thing. I don't have to hire bakers because we're not baking. I got all the HACCP certs. I did all that kind of stuff myself and I trained the staff myself. And I literally saved thousands on this, just the idea of outsourcing. And also you could look at supporting other business as well. They were 55 cents a donut. And because we were ordering whatever it was in such batch, he brought down like 30 cents or 25 cents, whatever it was. I think my opening costs for the donut shop was under 8 grand, and we'd made that back in the first 2 days.
Yeah.
Wow.
And now, obviously, we were a bit of a fucking tornado in a bottle, or whatever that saying is, lightning in a bottle, because we blew up. Like, it was huge. But still, that alone, like, when you consider 8 grand to open up, even over a month or two and make that back, that's still crazy. Like, do you know what I mean? So, like, there are roadblocks, but it like, try and always, my advice and the highlight would be, look at every angle of that roadblock and see how you get past, and never ask permission. Always ask for forgiveness. Forgiveness,
yeah. But aren't you lucky that your brain works like that, Jay? Because some people would go, I can't afford it. I have to go and find the 60 grand. Very similar, actually, my first ever business, the retreat up in Dublin. I'd worked out I had 12 weeks, to raise the 25 grand that I needed to raise. But I could go in straight away. So I went in day one and made that money in 12 weeks. And we opened morning, noon, night. I was outsourcing to every other beautician in the area. We made that money in 12 weeks and bought the business.
Yeah.
But
I genuinely believe
that's impossible.
Yeah, exactly. And I genuinely believe, and like, someone like me and you, we're cheeky. Like, we're cheeky people. You have to be cheeky. You have to go, fuck this now. How am I going to make this happen? Like, we are like, I mean, you see us.
Savvy.
It's cheeky and it's savvy, and it's just like, it's pure Del Boys. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, Do you know what I mean? And like, this is it, like in bartering and like as I was saying, like just understanding, because like my kitchen that I built for Huckleberries, I paid €400 for all the stainless steel on Done Deal. I couldn't afford anything else, so I had to get a sink. I got my father-in-law's van to help me bring a sink from fucking Blackpool into the city, like all this kind of stuff. I had to. It's bootstrapping 101, like.
But those are all the things that everyone wants to skip. And they're the most fun looking back on it. Like, you could go look back and you're telling us these stories and I'm just enthralled. I've nothing even to say back. Like, it's just exciting listening to it. But everyone wants but can you not just send me a sink?
You know? They want the destination, they don't want the journey.
You know?
The journey is the fun part.
Yeah.
When I think of the joy, I think of how I got out of the hole.
Yeah.
Because it's always a funny story. It's always like more entertaining than when you did, like, it was easy. Like, it's boring.
Yeah. I'm a firm believer that 2024 is going to be a massive make or break for a lot of businesses. Like the US side has been slowing down for a while. Like, we felt the recession vibes 8 to 12 months ago. And like, it's only now in the last few weeks that the Irish government is starting to put out the economy is slowing down snippets, and it's these kind of things. And it's, if you can survive or grow in a recession, or I don't want to say the word recession because that scares people, but I think it's the economy is certainly slowing down. I think 2024 will be a really interesting year. I can already see the pivots in marketing. Organic is becoming more important. People are pulling back paid spend. People are reviewing people's wages. I could see in all of the e-commerce accounts that, spend last year was way up compared to this year. Like, there's percentage differences that are important. People are more price sensitive. It'll just be a really interesting year for businesses next year because there's been a lot of funding going around and everything else in between the last few years. The last few years have been good.
For those that are very small businesses, like I was putting together some organic content for Christmas to thank a lot of the people that I've travelled around and visited this year, and a lot of them are closing this Christmas, which is really, really, really sad. Makes me sad.
Yeah.
And there's no worse feeling than closing a business.
No.
You feel like, talk about imposter syndrome. Closing a business is the imposter literally standing over you and pissing on your head, like, because he's won.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, that's the feeling that you hate. Like, the morning I realized, I was talking to my accountant and I was talking to the banks to get a loan for the donut shop, whatever that was. 2 years later, I ran it very poorly and the downturn happened very fast and I couldn't call back. And I was chatting to the accountant and he's like, the revenue could see this as reckless trading and you could actually be done for it. Like, you could be done for it. Like, and I was like, well, absolutely fuck that. Like, I'm just trying to survive here. I'm not being prosecuted for recklessly trading. So after the phone call, it was a Saturday morning. It was that, like, my accountant was talking to me on a Saturday morning. That's how, like, dire the situation was. I think we talked about 10:30. And by 11:30, both doors were closed in both shops. The staff were informed. 6-7 staff I had to let go on the spot. It was horrible. Like, do you know what I mean? I didn't want to go home. I was too embarrassed to go home to the wife, to Jules, who supported me the whole time. And just I was like, I want to just disappear for 2 weeks. Do you know what I mean? And not see anyone or talk to anyone. But Jay, again, that's a roadblock in itself. Like,
you loved that business though. You were very passionate about what you were doing. And so it really, really hurt you deeply. I closed Irish Woman magazine with delight and a party and a bottle of champagne because I did not enjoy it. And, I remember the person that I was in partnership with at the time, we used to go in every day. One of us would cry nearly every day because we absolutely hated this job. And eventually I remember looking at her and saying, look, we have to close the doors on this. I'm never going to leave because I'm never going to let you down. And you're never going to leave because you're never going to let me down. But we're letting ourselves down because we are miserable. And we left and I felt like a whole apartment block came off my shoulders. And luckily we didn't have to, we had one person working with us. She could see how miserable we were. So she was delighted for us. So there wasn't those sort of casualties. And you know what? No one noticed. About 2 years later, someone said, did you do that, Sean? And I went, yes, I did. I hated it. So you know, like I know your disappointment because you started that amazing project. But sometimes, not always, sometimes it's for you, the better for everybody. And you did the right
100%.
thing. You did the right thing.
But that, yeah, I completely agree. I think I did, definitely, because so I closed on the Saturday and I had a phone call on the Monday morning with a lucrative business owner in Cork who is quite wealthy and quite well known as an investor. And he said, look, it rarely happens that I'm sitting at home having a coffee on a Sunday morning or a Saturday morning and 3 of my children inform me that this one business is closing down. And he said, I want to talk to you. He was asking questions about the business and what the crack was and the stuff, and what I owed and what it was kind of put me in the hole and stuff. He goes, well, I want to invest 50,000 and I want to get back open. And I turned it down. I was like, I'm done. My heart was so broken. And I was like, my gut, I was like, I can't get back into this. I can't. I was just done with the whole thing. So it's interesting. And he was like, look, I understand that. And obviously, if your heart's on in it and you don't want to do it, then don't take this money and don't open up. But like you were saying, Shan, if you're not attached anymore, it's better just to cut ties and get out, because you're only driving it more into the ground, like, you know.
Yeah. When you wake up and you don't feel like doing it, you have to stop doing it. And I've done that so many times in my career, in my business life. You know, I'm like the Madonna of the business world. I'm forever changing. Right, when they brought out the word pivot in 220, I was like, that's my bloody word. What are you talking about? But yeah, if it doesn't bring you joy, just stop it straight away. And I think it's
that's
important.
why I stopped going to the gym, Shan.
Oh yeah,
no, I stopped going to the gym. Didn't bring me joy. It's just like I woke up, I'm like, I'm not doing it. I'm not happy.
I think
it's the same. Yeah. Don't even bother trying. I think the same is true. Like if you're getting out of bed and you're saying to yourself, no, I never want to do this again, but it's the first day of your period, is also the day not to wait until afterwards to make that decision.
Yeah, fair enough.
What do you think, Jay?
Fair enough. Yeah, I completely agree. Right, we'll jump on to the next subject. Shan, let's start with you. What fucks you off about roadblocks to entrepreneurship?
They don't really, to be honest. I'm sure someone will mention something that I'll go, oh, actually, that does piss me off. But
yeah, is there anything that someone said or says or advice you've heard or something an entrepreneur said to you and you're like,
I think when you're good at something, you can make it look easy, and then everybody thinks it's bloody easy, and then no one respects what you do, and then they go and do it, and then they stop doing it after a month because it's not easy. So yeah, like just because it looks easy doesn't mean it is. So I suppose that's one thing, that myth of because you're always the swan above water. You're always peddling like a natter under that water. When you want to make a success. So it's always hard work. And I don't mind, I'm sure you see it. I don't mind hard work. I love a bit of hard work. So, but don't think it's easy, because it's never easy.
It's interesting because that was going, sorry, go on, Jen.
That roadblock is particularly interesting because I actually see such a benefit in that like there's so many people out there that want to start a business, that will start a business, dig into a business, even become your competitor, that just don't like hard work.
Yeah.
And it's in your favor to just kind of like hard work, because you're just 10 steps ahead. If you're willing to put in any bit of grind whatsoever, comparable to, like, everyone thinks you need to build the best business out there, but actually you just need to be better than a few other businesses out there to make it viable. So if you're just willing to put in a little bit of it, I don't know what it is. You should see my DMs. It's full of people like, can I make money with this? Can I make money with this? And they're sending me links to like drop shipping services. Like, tell me how to make money with Canva. I need to make 5K this week. I'm like, you're having a fucking laugh. Best of luck to you.
Yeah. Nice plan.
But that was my, that was my one, Shan, what fucks you off. And it's kind of, it doesn't contradict what you're saying, but when people say it's not that easy, like, because if you can be savvy enough and you're passionate enough about it, it can be that easy to start something. And just, you have to go all the way. As you said, if you're in the second boat and you see something happening and you're reacting and you're copying, I completely agree with you. It's not that easy. You can't make it look that good. But if it's something that you're really passionate about and you're first off the mark, or you want this to happen, it is that easy in the scenario of you'll make it happen if you can and you want to. You'll find avenues to make it happen and market and get influence. Like the whole thing, whatever the business be, I feel. But when people say straight, like if you've, like, I've heard people say to the young people, "Oh, I have an idea for this. It's not that easy now. You have to do this and this." It's like, hold on a second, you have no idea what this person is thinking or their idea or their plan. So don't just give them shit advice and throw them off completely.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But when I've
seen people do that. Yeah.
When I say easy as well, though, I mean, it feels easy. So,
yeah, 100%. I know what you mean. Yeah.
Like, for instance, I always say to people, what in your business feels like work? Maybe that's the thing that you should outsource, the thing that you find difficult. Like, I work really, really hard, but I love everything I do. It doesn't feel like do you know what I mean? I'm struggling. Like, I look forward to the diversity that I see every week in my schedule. So it doesn't feel like work. It always feels like fun. Yeah, I suppose that's what I'm.
That's it. Exactly. It's not that it like pure example. When I was kicking off the agency, a few people were like, "Oh, geez, you sure? No, it's not that easy. There's a lot of agencies and stuff." I'm like, yeah, like, of course. I'm like, last week I spent 8 hours in a studio with 2 or 3 models. We had music blaring. We had directors and fashion people. It was absolutely class. It's reversal. The images are class. The videos class. It was just and I was like, I'm being paid to do this. I'm literally being paid to have fun, shoot my camera, it's just like, I look at those people now, I still talk to them now and then. I'm like, you're a fucking idiot for saying that to me. You know what I mean? People said to us in the past, like, you're fucking dope.
Yeah. No, but it looked fab.
Yeah. Judy, what fucks you off?
Well, now I had an interesting one last year where we launched a new business, me and 2 other partners, and it was a business now that it was on my brain for about 10 years. It was recording older people and putting their stories online. And then one of my partners was like, why don't we put a QR code then on gravestones, and then that can, lead to their video page. But then the video page turned out to be kind of like text images and things. But anyway, it was kind of like being in a relationship with going through a narcissist relationship. Not my partners, they were great, but we got completely love bombed by the idea, right? So we got onto Nationwide, we got a full press coverage all over Ireland. I'd say we reached like 2 to 3 million people. I have the numbers now, I just wasn't able to pull them up today, but like huge amount of people reached by this. And then it got to the next stage which is like being degraded, where we met with all the investors and they were like chip away, to being like almost completely devalued. Now the business is still going, and one of the other investors has taken it on full time, and we're relinquished shares kind of to give to him, and it's still working and stuff like that. But do you know what? Now it was hard, because you were taken, like, this idea that you have was taken to the top and then brought back down to what felt like nothing. Even though it's not nothing, it's still probably a little bit too early for it. But I know that Danny can probably take it to the next level, which is great. But like, Jen, you were saying earlier, like, that every roadblock makes you stronger and stuff like that. I don't know, is it just me at the moment, but I'm at the stage where, like, I just feel like my bucket's a bit empty. Like, I feel like, I'm missing now that drive to just get going again and stay up all night and learn something new and really apply myself to something. I'm just kind of like coasting a bit, which isn't really like me, but I do feel a bit like wrecked from that whole experience kind of thing. And especially it didn't pay off. And I put in an awful lot of time and effort into it. And there was no, monetary payoff, which I know that is part of our journeys as entrepreneurs. But it kind of brings you down a bit, I think, and I'm sure that's how you felt, Jay, as well, when the donut shop closed down and stuff. So, yeah. Yeah.
I think as well, Judy, people like ourselves, we need, so like 80, no, I'm not talking about 100% of my business is commercial, where I wish I could make a video and just sell my video. But that's something I wanted to, like, I was into a podcast photographer who just shoots what he wants when he wants and sells his prints, and that's his job, and that's class. But obviously we have rent to pay, there's families to be fed, that kind of stuff. So I think when people like us in the scenario of, if we're just doing commercial work and we're ticking the box and we're doing a really good job and people like our work, if we're not kind of lighting that creative flame on our end, when you're not off just going out to the ring at Kerry with a drone to have a cup of coffee and shoot a drone. Do you know that kind of stuff when you're just not going out for yourself? I think it really dampens people like us. I think we need that kind of thing, you know. It's just, so maybe, I don't know, is that kind of something you're feeling at the moment? But I definitely felt that in the last year, where I'm like, it's just shit. It's just, I'm happy, I'm working, I'm creating stuff, but I'm not creating stuff for me, if that makes sense.
Totally get you. Yeah. And it's hard. It is hard like that. And then you're trying to think of something that you can create that will also be beneficial to your business, that you're like if I can double up and stuff. But you're right. Sometimes just taking a camera to a forest for a day, having no need to create anything except just going out for the sake of it, is one of the most best things that I love to do. And you're the same.
There you go. Jen, what fucks you off?
All of the above.
Team.
Yeah. I don't know. I think, do you know what? There's a lot to be said for a few small things in terms of roadblocks that maybe we don't necessarily see every single day. Like, to this day, the percentage of women who get investment in business is significantly lower than the amount of men. That's a roadblock that should be considered, as well as, everything else that could define someone as being potentially different will potentially knock them backwards in terms of a roadblock that fucks me off, where it's like a roadblock that is an unnecessary roadblock. The roadblock isn't there for one, but is there for another. And that's particularly frustrating when you see that happening. And you can see it even, I mean, I went to a massive conference in the States a few years ago, and my ticket was, I think it was 90% cheaper because I'm a woman, which is, they just needed to fill more women, which is one thing. Okay, they did a good job of that. But then there's the whole conversation of, well, the other half didn't have to pay a significant full price for that ticket as well. It's a confusing conversation that I don't necessarily want to dig into, because I can go like haywire in a conversation. But there is roadblocks there, certainly, for a lot of situations. And even as simple as, and I think we talked about it in our last episode around money, where, even just stripping it back to the education system, where you don't really, I mean, business is a subject that you can potentially take for your leaving cert. Your university degree may not cover it, but even just basic personal financial management is just a huge gap. And if you can't do it for yourself, it's very difficult to do it for a business. So there's just these small little roadblocks that actually, I think, chip away at a lot of people more than is realized as well.
I started listening to Owen McGee. He's an accountant. He's like a financial advisor. He's great. His podcast is very good as well. It's all about finance and money and savings and stuff. So 20-minute episodes. At the end of the show is like 5 or 10 questions of people WhatsApping in. So I definitely recommend someone, if you are like, I'm shit with money. I've gotten a lot better, but I was the guy who was, I think we all were at some stage, 25, had 20 quid in my account and said, let's go for a few pints. Do you know what I mean? I'll walk home. Like that kind of idea, and that kind of lingered a bit too long in my life. But since the family came along, I've gotten a lot better. But I still like to, like, there's a book called The Psychology of Money, which is brilliant.
It's really good. I love that book.
Oh, good.
So good. So that's a good recommendation. And Owen McGee's podcast. Let's jump.
Since the family came along, Jay, just like in my head, I'm like, Jay's sitting there putting €20 on pints, and then all of a sudden these kids and wife just show up with suitcases.
He's like, hands are the 20.
Yeah, I had nothing to do with it.
Pulled out of the pub by his ponytail.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But a pure example. No, the last day, the lads had a big Christmas dinner, and just, actually, I never told you, I broke my daughter's finger, my 2-year-old daughter's finger.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I caught it in the bathroom door by accident.
Actually admitting to this, sorry, it's not funny.
Well, no, it was a complete accident. So I was in the bathroom. I was just going for a quick pee, and 2-year-olds they stick their head in going, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm just going for a pee. Go on out." And she went out to the hallway, and like all our shoes were in the hallway, and we keep them there. And she then was kind of stepping in my shoes and playing. I was like, "Oh, that's so cute." And I was trying to get her out just because dinner was on the table. So I said, "Come on, babe." And then I was closing the bathroom door, but her hand was in the nook of the door. And I closed the door, and I was kind of moving her. I thought I'd hurt her foot in my shoe or something, but it was actually the door. So it's this, whatever the finger is, the wedding finger or whatever it is, but it's just the tiny fracture at the top of the bone. So he's not wrapped, the doctor didn't wrap it, or and she's a little hero. She keeps going to everyone like, oh, my finger, like, oh, poor me, like, but she's a hero. But
she gets married, Jay, and she's having pictures taken, and she goes, my dad did that.
My dad, like,
I'll never let you forget
gross. It. Like, it sinks to my stomach sinks. I broke my daughter's finger, like, and my 2-year-old daughter, like. But pure example. So the lad said his big Christmas night out and the big pints. I was like, that just happened. Christmas shopping, this stuff. I was like, I'm not going out, I'm not drinking, I'm not doing dinner, I can't, I need to work. And like Jay 6-7 years ago was like, fuck all that, I'm going pinting, I need to de-stress. But it's just you grow, I think, and you learn. And even I think that's obviously the business has helped that as well, like where I have made brash decisions where I didn't need to do this, and the benefit, and the business would have suffered from it. Like, so again, with the new business, I'm making better financial decisions because of that, like back end. Just, yeah. But anyway, it leads nicely into something you've learned. Judy, tell us something you've learned about Roadblocks, your entrepreneurship.
Do you know, actually, I'm gonna piggyback off your one, Jay, and it's just the whole thing about not listening to people, you know, like, because honestly, like, I remember having like a mentor as part of an entrepreneurship program who like totally didn't understand my business at all and was just like, you know, like, it's never going to work. This is video training now. Like, you know, it's like video isn't like big enough, you know, it's like not everyone wants to learn it and all this kind of stuff. And I was just like, okay. But like, I let that get into my brain for a while because, you know, it was pre-Instagram, TikTok. Like, I started video training people 7 years ago. So this was very early on. And he just couldn't see it. And then that planted a seed of doubt in my mind too. And I was like, now I know there are some people that you should listen to, but like, I don't know. I think you have to trust your gut. I think you have to go with your vision. And then whatever happens, then you learn from your own mistakes and get better at that. There's no point in listening to someone else because you won't learn from that mistake. You'll just think that all the answers are out there when they're really within you. And you have to, like, you know, go deep within yourself and make those mistakes. So I think that would be my big one. Listen to yourself before you listen to other people.
That's a good one. Solid. Shan?
I feel like I'm on blankety blank because I wrote people too. And yeah, I completely agree. Don't underestimate the power of the people around you. Whether that be, you know, the network that you're involved in or your team that you work with, and try and surround yourself with people that have different strengths to you, always, because if in our 20s, I think definitely I did it. I surrounded myself with all people like me because I just wanted, you know, that energy all the time, and it was completely wrong. And it took me some time to learn that. So yeah, people and the power of people.
Nice. Jen?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I think for a long time, like the people around me side of things was what I was really focused on. And then this year in particular, I kind of really dug into myself a bit more. Like, why am I taking this information? Why am I doing things like this? And I ended up getting assessed and assessed for autism. So essentially that came back and I was actually shocked, like completely floored, because I was like, no, I don't. But actually, apparently I do. But it changed my thinking completely around like I take things very logically, and like if someone like lies to me or someone tells me something or a clear piece of information that logically makes sense, I just take it as truth and I'll move on with it. And like jokes will go over my head, or like small things will go completely over my head. And it's just made a difference in terms of how I work completely, because how it's changed. Because like before, people were like, what is this psycho crazy organizational system you have? And I'm like, this is how it works, and this is how it should be, and this is what you need to do too. And just kind of like also not force applying what I think is the correct way of doing everything to everyone else as well. Because like it took me, even though we really built out the team last year, it probably only took until like around the time I was doing that to actually start relinquishing control to people, because I was just still hoarding everything, working 12, 13, 14-hour days because I was controlling everything meticulously. And like it just came back to a little bit of self-reflection. But actually it's interesting because when I dug into my pure curiosity around it afterwards, I think like the statistics around the volume of entrepreneurs who either have autism or ADHD or some sort of neurodivergent is absolutely off the scale. Like it's far more commonplace than it is not. But it makes for working with other entrepreneurs particularly interesting as well. Like I can almost clock it a little bit now where I'm like, I'm not going to ask you, but I think you are X. And that's probably a bad way. It's overstimulated in my mind at the moment because it's only like still fresh news to me to a degree.
It's a superpower and I love it. And I completely agree though. I say everybody is because, you know, look, you look at ADHD, I start a business, I get it up and running, I make a success of it, I move on. You know, I'm always constantly looking, seeing opportunities and everything. And I think it's a different brain. And I think it is a superpower.
Yeah, I'm definitely ADHD. Like there'll be times I'm editing and then I'd be, without even noticing, I've done completely something else without, you know, I've pivoted without even realizing I've pivoted, this kind of stuff. So yeah, it's just that world.
Yeah. I think it's there's a common thing across both. Yeah. Sorry, no, there's actually, it's just a common thing across both and I'm sure the four of you probably, like, I'm not assuming anything of anyone, but the hyper focus is like a thing that correlates across like all of these, where it's just like, I can't even hear someone shouting my name if I'm stuck in it completely. I don't know if any of you experience that kind of thing when you're stuck in it and then potentially flip or completely focus in on whatever the flip is at the same breath.
100%, because I even have like playlists where it's called going under, where I know I'm going into a hyper focus mode, and it's like, don't talk to me. Like you have to have a light somewhere. Like you've seen these kind of things where you have a little light at your desk and go red or green.
Yeah,
I would like one of those. Something I've learned in this kind of and Roadblocks entrepreneurship and the whole thing is to value your time, because it's the only thing you don't get back out of it. Like money comes and goes, relationships come and go, all this kind of stuff, egos, it all, like the only thing you're losing is time. And that's both negative and positive. Like you attempt a business, you give it everything, it doesn't work. You've only given a year. Do you know what I mean? But, and you understand it, or that kind of thing. Like it's only been, like, pure example, I turned 30, I got engaged, I had a kid, I moved house, I opened a business in 1 year. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then a year later, that business is closed. And like, it's just, time is the only thing you're losing. So make it worth, make it count. Don't go in half-assed if you are going on entrepreneurship, because as I said, relationships come and go, money definitely comes and goes. So, time is the only thing you're genuinely losing. So make it worth it. Judy, the future. How do you approach this subject, Roadblocks, entrepreneurship, the future? Like, is there any roadblocks in the future you're seeing, or is there anything you think you want to overcome, or just give us an idea of your future in your entrepreneurship journey?
I think, like at the moment, I need a revitalization or something like that. I need to reconsult the whiteboard, to be honest. The world has changed since I started this, and it's going to continue to change, and I need to be ahead of the curve, which I was when I first started it, and now I feel like the curve is after kind of overtaking me a little bit. So I think it's just, you know, maybe this holiday, being sick on holiday isn't helping, but I'm hoping to come back with a bit more. You know, I've had enough time now to mourn the fact that the story of didn't work, and I just need to give myself a kick up the ass, I think, and just kind of like get back onto that motivated, kind of like pushing myself kind of version of myself that I know is still there, but she's kind of buried underneath this one who's just a bit like, oh God, I have no energy to do anything. So there's a personal side to it, and then there's also a side that just needs to get back to being creative, I think, and just come back as 2.0 or 3.0 or whatever feckin' version I'm on.
Nice. Shan can testify that maybe a mentor might help in that scenario, like just someone holding you accountable and coffees and this kind of stuff, you know?
Yeah. I was just going to say, I'm going to text her straight after this on my way to college, which I have to get to.
Yeah, do you mean it's like this podcast? We're one of the reasons we want to start this was to hold each other accountable.
Yeah.
So we're here to help, and the fact that you have this, like we have resources, believe it or not, between us, the four of us, we have some good resources as well. So never be afraid to reach out to us as well, or for the fans as well. If they need our help, let us know as well. Yeah, I said it. We have fans. What about it?
Oh my God.
Shan, the future for you.
Fan.
Yeah.
Man, it's bloody boring.
Shan, your future.
Me?
The future for you, Shan. Yeah.
The future is I have to get to college in like 1 minute, and that is my future. And once that's done,
go on.
The world is my oyster.
Yeah, absolutely. Jump off there. We'll finish pop without you. Rock and roll. Thanks, Jen. Jen, future.
I'm the same. I have a hard stop in 2 minutes, so I have to jump too. But that's my future right now. Yeah, I think it's just going into next year with a completely different mindset around my workflows, how I process everything, and even just like you, Judy, like I was kind of really feeling that earlier in the year. The Instagram growth side project actually really sparked it in me, and now I'm trying to like replicate that with some other channels and stuff. But there's something else. Like I'm just not getting to I think it's because like the business has grown a bit now, and I'm not in the startup hustle as much anymore. It's not the fiery kind of like changes. I think there's something that needs to happen there too. But giving myself the space over the next few weeks to allow that to stir, shall we say, or just kind of become a fine wine and then figure out what's going on. Just kind of, I don't know, because I don't know what it is. I just need to kind of take space for that. So I'm looking forward to that.
Nice. Yeah, same with me. Just realize what the future is for my agency and my future in this state. And do I want to grow my personal brand more? And just figure that out, I think, in the next Q1 anyway, if I can. And then we might talk off air one time because I might need help growing and just planning, because I'm so shit at that stuff. Just I know where I want to go, but it's just a fact of planning and getting there is a deal for me. So yeah, we'll get there. And even we might do it live in a podcast, so that can help other people.
I can share my spreadsheet.
But yes, please, I'll take all of them.
I'll take
them all. Yeah. Guys, thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate it. We hope this helped. If you have any comments or want to ask questions about the next episode, or if you have any questions about this episode, please email us or DM us individually. We're all there. If you have our phone numbers, feel free to WhatsApp us. Review us, rate us. Got number 2 last week. Let's keep going. Appreciate the love. Thank you so much, and happy Christmas. Have a great time. Have a great break. Merry Christmas and a happy New Year. We love you, and rock and roll.